Welcome back, everyone. It's David. I'm going to be breaking down and overreacting to the biggest games from Week 10 of the NFL. There was a lot of excitement beyond just the Hail Murray, but of course, we'll get to that later on. If you like what you see, be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow Lingo Sports on Instagram. So let's start with number 5. For Saints fans who had to watch Drew Brees go down, all I can do right now is put on a brave face. It's over! You are screwed! In all seriousness, it was a trip to see Jameis Winston under center again. And drives like this are an obvious cause for concern. Facing goal to go, he got sacked twice, made terrible reads, and completely overthrew his receivers. Almost all of his passes in this game were short, intermediate ones. He completed 6 passes that traveled a grand total of 63 yards. And when he did take downfield shots, they were nowhere close to the intended target. It's almost as if Winston has become gun-shy, trying to avoid throwing the interception at the cost of taking necessary risks. That said, there is a case to be made that the Saints will be just fine. And that right there is the biggest reason. They know how to run their offense through Alvin Kamara. Hell, even Blake Bortles can chuck it off to Kamara like that and let him do his thing. Now, Brees is expected to miss the next 2 to 3 weeks, at least. And the next 4 games against the Falcons twice, Broncos, and Eagles are very winnable. And remember, if things don't work out for Winston, they can always turn to Taysom Hill, who the league still hasn't figured out yet. Come playoff time and in bigger games like the one upcoming against the Chiefs, the Saints will obviously need Brees. But he's not the only reason they're 7-2. And if they could withstand the storm last year with Teddy Bridgewater, they can do the same with Winston. And Winston will be better. He just needs some practice reps with the first team. Hopefully he can get back to doing what he loves, which is eating those W's. Number 4. The Browns' path to success the rest of the season is for Baker Mayfield to not throw another pass again. At the halfway point, it's clear this team has outperformed expectations. I mean, they have the same record as the Ravens. And getting Nick Chubb back is going to be a huge boost. At the start of the season, the Browns had a clear identity, and that was they were going to run it down your throat with their two-headed monster of Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And now that their receiver group is depleted, they need to double down on that and then some. Hunt was adequate as a featured back while Chubb was out, but they work so much better when they're in tandem. To wit, they both had 19 carries and rushed for over 100 yards against the Texans. And while Hunt works well as a pass-catching back, Chubb is more effective as a human battering ram. I mean, just look at this run. Now, the weather made going to the ground a necessity, but it's worked so well all season. Why deviate from it now? The only cause for concern in taking this approach is if Chubb does more shit like this. What are you doing? I mean, it's pretty clear what he was doing. He wanted to avoid a Todd Gurley situation where he scored and the Lions were ecstatic because they got the ball back. But this wasn't that. This would have made it a 2-possession game with under a minute to go. There was no way the Texans were rallying back from that. Just get in the end zone and appease the bettors and fantasy owners. Number 3. Remember how excited Bears fans were when the team started out 5-1? Yeah. You're finishing the season 5-11 now. Anyone with the right mind knew that the Bears' record was fraudulent. It was a product of an easy schedule and costly mistakes by opponents, like when Tom Brady didn't know it was 4th down. But, despite their obvious shortcomings, they haven't changed one bit. They are who we thought they were. This team's identity has been the same for as long as anyone can remember. They're built on their great defense. And ever since they acquired Khalil Mack, that unit has been good enough to single-handedly win them games. The season that Matt Nagy won Coach of the Year, it was good enough to drag them to the playoffs. But that doesn't mean you can just ignore your offense. You can't just address the tight end position and call it a day. I don't even need to look at the rest of the Bears' schedule. They're not winning another game. And this is the reason why. -2 offensive yards in the third quarter. 1.4 yards per play in the second half. How is that possible? I'm not a Bears fan, but just watching some of these plays is making me irrationally angry. Like right here. How is this the best play you're drawing up on a 3rd down? It's pretty clear that Matt Nagy giving up play calling duties wasn't the issue, if this is the best that Bill Lazor can muster. And if Foles has to miss any time, that's just adding insult to injury. He hasn't been great, but he's still somehow the team's best option at quarterback. That's pretty sad. But hey, Trubisky's been sidelined for the past couple of weeks. Hopefully he can use the upcoming bye to fully heal and get the Bears on the right track. No, I'm sorry. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. Number 2, it's time to accept that the best quarterback in the NFC East right now is Danny Dimes. Now, just like the division race itself, this is hardly an accomplishment. But look at what else the division has to offer right now. Carson Wentz just continues to spiral out of control. Alex Smith is a great story, but how long can he realistically keep this up? And then you've got whatever the hell is going on with the Cowboys. It's crazy to think, but Daniel Jones has actually been the most consistent quarterback of the bunch. He certainly played much better than Wentz in what was a crucial divisional rematch. Whereas Wentz tried to be a dual-threat QB but ended up with 2 fumbles, Jones actually pulled it off on this touchdown run. And good on you for actually staying on your feet this time, Danny. Well done. And again here, while he didn't get the first down, that was great awareness to scramble out of the pocket when there was nothing open and pick up a quick 10 yards. This is a nice play too, staying in the pocket and chucking it the length of the field to find Sterling Shepard. This was a seeing eye throw that hovered right over the Eagles defender and into Lewis's hands. And this is why they call him Danny Dimes. The Giants have fought hard in every game this season. They've certainly bought into Coach Judge's philosophy, and if they can capture the title in this joke of a division, there's nowhere for this group to go but up. And finally, number 1, Kyler Murray is now a top 3 QB. Honestly, this isn't as far-fetched as when the NFL players ranked Lamar Jackson the best player in football last season. That was based on the tremendous leap he took in his sophomore year to earn MVP, and we're seeing that same leap from Kyler this year. Even if he doesn't win MVP, he'll always have the Hail Murray. What we saw from him against the Bills is enough to put him below Mahomes, but in the same tier as guys like Wilson and Rodgers. He made great use of his legs, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns, showed off his deep ball, and stayed calm under pressure. When the Bills went up by 4 with 34 seconds left, he wasn't rattled at all. All right, here's the Hail Mary. Even before the Bills send the blitz, Kyler starts motioning outside of the pocket. That gives him a leg up on the defender and allows him to avoid the sack more easily than if he had waited to move. But the pass he had to make was still insanely difficult. Look at his body and the angle from which he's throwing. This is like the equivalent of an NBA player hitting a fadeaway half-court buzzer beater. Of course, this catch was so insane by DeAndre Hopkins, which, by the way, that trade is looking more and more like the NFL version of the Mookie Betts trade every day. Just so hilariously one-sided. I mean, this tweet says it all.
Do not attach any association of this to me whatsoever. I have nothing to do with such idiocy, such blasphemy, such ridiculous nonsense.
For the Bills, there's nothing more they could have done. The pass rush got through, and they were on the verge of getting the sack. And even when Kyler escaped, they had Hopkins triple-teamed. And who were the guys that were covering him? Trey White, Jordan Poyer, and Micah Hyde. All of the Bills' best defensive backs converging on one play. That's what makes this even harder to stomach. For the Cardinals, meanwhile, this was a truly gutsy comeback under the circumstances. The Bills had a 90% win probability when they were up 23-9 earlier in the game, and it was 96.8% right before the Hail Mary occurred. A win like this, capped off with his signature moment, signals a very bright future for Kyler Murray. And after he balled out against the Dolphins only to lose to a guy who was making a second career start, he was not about to let his team drop 2 straight. At the end of the day, it's purely subjective, but I'm ready to anoint Kyler Murray as an, at worst, top 5 QB in the NFL.